Welcome back to the Spring Boot Groovy tutorial. In the previous tutorial, we have shown you how to create REST API easily in Groovy language using Grails framework, which everything is set up in Grails way. Now, we will do the same thing but create with Spring Boot ways like configure, server, and database. Create an entity, create a repository, create service, and create REST controller. Using Groovy will decrease the code lines instead of using Java. So, CRUD creates read, update, delete operation to build REST API, simple and less library to use. This tutorial is divided into several steps. Step number 1. Create and configure Spring Boot Groovy projects. Step number 2. Create Groovy model or entity class. Step number 3. Create Groovy repository interface. Step number 4. Create Groovy service and implementation. Step number 5. Create Groovy RESTful controller. Step number 6. Run and test the Groovy Spring Boot PostgreSQL REST API. Before we start, the following tools, frameworks, libraries, and dependencies are required: JDK 11, Maven, Spring Boot, Spring Data PostgreSQL, Spring Initializer, IDE, NetBeans, Eclipse, Suite, or IntelliJ, IDE, or VS Code. Let's get started with the main steps. Step number 1. Create and configure Spring Boot Groovy projects. We assume that you have installed JDK 11, Gradle, and IDE. Next, we will create a new Spring Boot Groovy Gradle projects of REST API using Spring Initializer. Spring Initializer provides an extensible API to generate quick start projects and to inspect the metadata used to generate projects, for instance, to list the available dependencies and versions. Just go to Spring Initializer using your web browser. Web-based Spring project generator, then fill the required frameworks and libraries. Projects, Gradle projects, language, Groovy. Spring Boot version, the latest table 2.6.6. Projects metadata, group name, artifact, packaging using Java using version 11, and then add dependencies: Spring Web, Spring Data, GPA, PostgreSQL, Driver. Then click the Generate button to download the compressed Spring Boot projects. Next, extract the downloaded Spring Boot projects, then open it with your IDE. We are using IntelliJ IDE. Next, open SRC Mine Resources Application Properties. Then add these lines of server port, path, GPA, and PostgreSQL connection configuration. As you see, we need to create a new PostgreSQL database. For that, run the PostgreSQL console in the terminal. You can create a new user with a password, then give access for creating the database. We already have our own user, and then we will create a new database. Type these commands to create, then give a new user privilege to the new database, then quit PostgreSQL console. Step number 2. Create Groovy model or entity class. In this tutorial, we will use two entities with one-to-many relationships. There's a product entity which has many variant entity as described in this diagram. To create that entity relationships, first we need to create a new package with the name com Spring Boot Groovy entity. and the new Groovy files, comjammer, springboot, Groovy entity, products.groovy, and comjammer, springboot, Groovy entity, variant.groovy. Next, open and edit comjammer, springboot, Groovy, entity, products, Groovy. Then edit lines of Groovy codes. As you see, that entity class is very simple because all constructors, greeters, setters are handled by Groovy. We're still using standard GPA notations for entity class type, ID generations, and one-to-many relationships. Next, open and edit, comjammer, springboot, Groovy, entity, variant Groovy, then add these lines of Groovy codes. We are using a JSON ignore to prevent the whole product's entity persists to the variant entity. So it just persists the product's ID only. Step number 3. Create Groovy repository interface. We will extend the product repository with Spring Data paging and sorting repository and the variant with CRUD repository. First, create a new package comjammer Spring Boot repository, then add to that package these Groovy files. In iProduct repository.groovy, add these lines of Groovy codes. In iVariant repository Groovy, add these lines of Groovy codes. Step number 4. Create Groovy service and implementation. Now we will put all CRUD logic in the Groovy services. We will only operate CRUD in products that includes variants too. For that, create a new package, comjammer Spring Boot Groovy service. Then add these Groovy interface files. And Groovy implementation class files. Add these lines of Groovy codes to the iProduct service Groovy. and then add these lines of Groovy codes to product service implementation.groovy. All CRUD operations is standard CRUD operation. The save method only used two lines with save variants in products all at once. To save all variants from the REST request payload, simply iterate through the project objects, then set the product for each variant. If you don't add adjacent ignore annotations in many-to-one relationship in variant entity, the products will loop to save. Update scenario compares the existing variants in the products that gets from the REST request payload. If not exists, then the existing variants will be prepared for removal. Then compare products variants from payloads with existing products variants by ID. If found, then updates the variants, else then add the new variants to the products. So the update operation JSON payload should be included ID for the new variant ID value may be null. Step number 5. Create Groovy RESTful controller. The Groovy REST controller will handle a request and response in JSON format. Also specify the endpoint path for all entities and each CRUD operation. Create a new package, com_jamware, springboot Groovy, controller, and Groovy files, com_jamware, springboot Groovy, controller, product controller Groovy. Then replace or add these lines of Groovy codes. There's nothing special here, just the Spring Boot standard REST controller. Step number 6. Run and test the Spring Boot Groovy PostgreSQL REST API. Before running this Spring Boot Groovy application, make sure the PostgreSQL is running. Next, run this application by type this command in the terminal. Next, start the postman and then create a post request with content type application JSON headers. Use the raw data payload or body as this, then click the send button. And here's the result of the post products. And here is the get products with the same URL request and headers. Click send button, and here's the result of the product list with all variants. Here is get product by ID, and here is update method with the same request URL with additional URL parameters, headers, and body except for the foreign object should include the ID. And here's delete products request. That is the Spring Boot Groovy PostgreSQL CRUD REST API. You can get the full source code and the articles in the descriptions below. Thank you.